speech is Washington is Burning. Washington is Burning by Frederick Pierce.
In August of 1984, I was staying in a little country inn outside Baltimore, between Baltimore and Washington. The innkeeper was a Mrs. Burke. On the 24th, I went out for a walk in the afternoon. I told Mrs. Burke that I was going out for a long walk, but I would be back for dinner. I walked for about 2 hours and turned and started to walk back. And I walked. By the time it started getting dark, I realized I must have missed my way. But where I was going wasn't behind me, I just had to keep walking. It got darker. The sky had been overcast in the afternoon, and there was no moon, no stars, so the night just settled over me like a blanket. It's rather chilly, very still. And after more walking, I sat at the side of the road. I felt bored, and I just sat to take a rest. And I felt as if a movement in the air, as if something had brushed by me, but I couldn't see anything. I could barely see the road. And shortly after that, I heard sound, multiple sounds really. I made them out to be the creaking of leather and the crunch of wheels in the gravel, and horses' hooves. And the sound moved past me. I couldn't see anything, but right behind the sound came a horse-drawn carriage. It was like I was watching a movie where the soundtrack and the picture just weren't in sync. So the coach stopped right in front of me. It was quiet, isn't it? Really quiet, except this silent coach. Well, I felt compelled to get into the coach because I was lost and at least the coach was going somewhere. So I stepped up and entered the coach and was dark inside. And suddenly the coach jolted as it started to move, and I felt myself thrown into a seat and I sat on something and oh no, it was just a newspaper. And then 3 ladies seemed to come out of the darkness. And they were talking rapidly, very excitedly. I heard them talking about Washington and something was burning and the British. And well, I was getting scared by them. These women taking no notice of me. But then suddenly they stopped talking and they all turned on me. Just turned and sat still and stared. I was just beginning to crawl now. I'm just trying to cringe in the corner. And they just stared. And their faces, oh gosh, their faces were very pale and gaunt, and almost like black sockets, like shadowed eyes. And they just, well, they seemed like an age, just staring at each other. And then suddenly the coach jolted again and the door flew open, and then Mrs. Burke comes walking through my bedroom door, carrying a tray, and I'm in bed. And Mrs. Burke says, "Are you feeling all right now?" Very brightly. Now? She said, "Yes, you weren't looking too well when they brought you in." Brought me in? I sound quite stupid. Mrs. Burke came round and sat on the end of the bed with a tray, getting this hot bowl of soup. And she said that Mr. Burke had, when I didn't come back, Mr. Burke had gone out to try and find me, and he found me, she said, at the bottom of a ravine by Tamer Bridge. She said, very treacherous, trying to cross that bridge in the dark without the handrail. So I told Mrs. Burke about the coach, which now I'm beginning to feel was a dream. And Mrs. Burke looked at me and said, "Do you know what day it is?" So I said, "August 25th. She said, 170 years ago, there was war between Britain and America. And the British fleet came up to Chesapeake, and some troops disembarked and set fire to Washington. And Dolly Madison, the First Lady, and 2 waitresses, 2 waiting girls, barely escaped the burning of the White House. And it's thought that they perhaps stayed in this house. And Mrs. Burke walked out. I'm really a shiver now. I mean, I had no knowledge of this little bit of history, and so, you know, how could I possibly dream it? But when Mrs. Burke went out of the door, I noticed that my coat was hanging on the back of the door. Something was sticking out of the pocket. I went over to the jacket and pulled out the newspaper. I read it. It said, August 24th, 1814, Washington is burned. Just